you. Welcome to Geekism and welcome back to Pinewood Hills. Apologies, a slightly shorter episode this week. I just really struggled to find time to play this week, if I'm totally honest with you. No excuse, no reason. Just haven't been able to sit down as much as I would have liked to. I've got some stuff done though, mostly sort of finishing off bits, tidying up bits, little things like that. You'll see the fence work here and also those telescope things there. We started those, we did those in the live stream this week, so if you didn't catch the live stream, that's what we did. And we had a great time. It was really good fun actually. If you don't already, you should come and join us. Every Tuesday evening, UK time, it is 5 PM GMT. We go into Pinewood Hills and usually build a small thing that can get placed into Pinewood. So in the past we've built a few midway games. We did those telescopes, things like that. This week we got the telescope done pretty quick, and I thought, well, you know what, we'll come in and start working on this fence. The fence is based loosely on Blackpool North Pier. It's very bright, it's colourful, a lot of ironwork. And that's kind of what I wanted around the edge of the pier, and then on the inside of the pier here to sort of act as the queue fencing for the Ferris wheel. I wanted something a little plainer really, so just use this basic fence here, just sort of very serviceable, and does exactly what it needs to do. Here I've just raised the path queue up, just so as I know where to put stuff, and then I'll get rid of that back in a moment. So that's that done. We keep the pier quite light really, and also we haven't really gone for an Americana theme with it. I've kept it a little bit more like maybe it's Victorian, not necessarily opened with the park, but when it did open, maybe some point between the 40s and the 60s, I guess, and it was kind of kept very sort of traditional. Here then, I asked for suggestions of what to do with this bit of station here. It's kind of useless really for this sort of ride. So a few people suggested different things, and one of the best suggestions was like a boathouse, basically, to store some of the extra boats. So I thought it was a great idea. I really struggled thinking about how to theme this, and I obviously wanted to keep it sort of 60s, and I eventually found a storage unit in the States that was built in the 60s that has this it actually had more of a rounded roof actually, but it did have these really cool little sort of concrete details on the side, and I saw it and thought it's a great mix of service and design. So it's just concrete blocks here really, but they've taken a little time to make it look a little bit more interesting rather than it just being a concrete box, and I think it's the exact sort of thing we needed. So these go along here, and it's literally just a bit of stylized retro concrete building, like I say, very serviceable, but also a little bit more detailed than just a shed. So that's what we've gone for here. And inside you've just got a boat, and then on that we place a large set of sliding doors, and this would just be the space where you would maybe prepare the boats, or just store one at least. This would probably be a little bit further away from the station, to be honest with you, but we've just got that bit of station that we kind of needed to do something with, and I thought this was a relatively elegant solution, so that's what we've gone for here. The second station, eventually, it's going to be a while until we do it, but eventually it's going to be a second station in a sort of adventure temple kind of themed area. And that'll come quite a bit later on, but it'll be a little bit more themed. One thing I'm adding here is a sign that's referencing that other area. So this would have been added much later when the area opened as a sort of teaser almost, this way to the adventure place. I've named it Adventure Islandia, but that will most likely change when we actually get to it. But for now, I just wanted to kind of place that there. Again, relatively light theming. I'm really looking forward actually to working on some themed areas, but still very budget conscious. It's one thing I've not actually done in the game yet. I've either built sort of budget generic or crazy themes. I think it's going to be quite a nice challenge to try and build a mix of the two. So a themed area, but still keeping budget and scale in mind. Like a lot of the UK parks really, even the smaller parks, they have themed areas. And I remember Lightwater Valley I went to last year had a pirate area, and very lightly themed, but you could still tell it was meant to be a pirate area. There was a few masts here and there was lots of wood and rope and things like that. Here in the middle I wanted to build a Relatively simple fountain water feature, and I've seen a few people do these sort of things in the pool, in the ponds, in the pools, in the lakes. One thing they don't seem to do is give it any sort of structure or sort of logistics to it. They just sort of place the special effects in the water. I really wanted this to look placed and look real, so that's what the framework is there. These would sit on a frame, and then we also have some pipes coming from it that would sort of funnel the water and pump the water, or at least pump, house the electrics that go to it and things like that. I spent quite a while on this, apologise for that. I wanted to try and get it just right, and I think it turned out quite nice actually. Lost a little bit of footage here again. It's not happening as much now. No, I'm not clicking away from the first screen, but occasionally it does jump across. I don't know whether it's just something I've noticed. It seems to be, if I'm watching a YouTube video and an advert starts, it seems to cut across the other screen. I don't know whether it's just that the computer, when the advert kicks in, the computer thinks I'm moving to the other screen or something like that. I'm not sure. It doesn't happen every time, but every time it does do it, it's when an advert started, which is quite strange. Here are those telescopes, just placing a couple of them along the pier here. So all I've done there that you've missed is build a relatively plain wall. Again, I've tried to keep it concrete, square, and that's keeping that googie sort of style in mind. And in a slight juxtaposition to that, we've got this sort of more traditional British pier here. A lot of suggestions of stuff to put on the pier. I wanted to keep it quite light though, really, because it's quite small. I could have placed things like shops or midway and things like that on here, but it's quite a small space, quite small, and I really wanted to keep the sort of long and thin look to it. I know we have the Ferris wheel onto the one side, but apart from that, I wanted to keep the whole thing relatively neat. So all we kind of do here is have some lighting. Have a look. I loved it. I think that turned out so nice, those lights with the fairy lights in between them. And then we also go back and place some benches along there later on. Again, some very simple lighting onto every other one of the pillars here. And then we also do a little bit of detail using some of the larger flags in the game. The one thing I've really enjoyed with this Googie section is being able to use some of the slightly oversized pieces, some of the slightly more tacky pieces, like some of the signage and things like that. Very, very often wouldn't be able to use them in other places, but here it's quite open, it's large and loud. And, excuse me, I'm yawning my head off. It's quite late here tonight while I'm recording this. I think it's worked out quite nicely. So we use these signs here. We've also put some wheels around them to act as like safety barriers. Then, having done those lights on the pier, I wanted to come and do a little bit of a lighting pass here on some of the buildings we'd already done. Nothing major, still need to go back and do a little bit of work. There is still some work to do in this Googie area, though. We need a small sort of food stall in the middle of the path. The path is quite large there, so I want to break that up. So here I'm using a combination of either the fairy lights or the, as you see on the last one there, the neon signs. And I think they've all turned out pretty nicely, actually. A combination of either plain ones like this or flashing ones that we do on the boat station in a moment. And then also some sort of simple spots to begin to light up the area. The only part that isn't really lit up now is the path itself. It needs some P lighting. It needs some sort of street light. I may well just use the street light in the game. I think that would work quite well with the area. It would fit the theme relatively well. Or I might look at making something a bit more custom. I'll look at that hopefully this week. And then a little bit more work to do along the side of the coast there. And then we can start capping this area off really and look at moving forward both in the park and also in time as well, and look at hopefully doing a sort of 70s area. It's going to be quite a small area. It's basically we're going to be building a steel coaster. We're going to be building our first inverted coaster. They, for the most part, came around very late 60s or more sort of like 72, 73, that sort of time. Right, what I'm going to do now is jump into the game and we'll have a little look around because it's quite a short video. I want to give you make the most of the fact that it's a bit shorter and use the time to have a little look around and see some of the bits in detail, and also have a look at the areas that we still need to finish. Right, so here we are as we come into the Googie area. Still needs to do a bit of work on this bridge. Not much. I want to keep it quite simple and plain, but obviously some sort of supports are going to be needed there. I also think a Pinewood Through the Years billboard would work quite well up here as well. Sort of maybe talking about how this bridge was put in after the fact of the coaster coming down. I think that's a really great view there of the coaster coming through. I think it looks really good. And then here we've got I think are we sped up a little here? Oh no, that's slow. Just seems everyone's moving a bit quick. And then here's all quite neat as well. Just need to like tidy this area up, really cap it all off. Whether or not the water runs off that way or not, I'm not too sure yet. All this area is pretty much done now. I need to probably put some light planting in these planters here. Happy with how all this has turned out. I need to do a little bit of work backstage behind the cinema there. That's still got to have some work, and obviously we need a name for the film that's showing in the cinema as well. This area here, I eventually want this to be broken up with a small sort of popcorn stand or a hot dog stand or something like that. We'll probably do that on a live stream. Again, Dodgems needs a little bit of work. Again, there you see the rather large area there needs some stuff in it. A little bit of work as we come into this area here. I think these flags have turned out really quite nice. Like I say, they are a bit large, but if there's one place you would probably find them, you know, this is the sort of area they would be. I think oh, little jumpy there. I think that fountain worked out really quite nicely. What I think I didn't show in the time lapse very well is that some of them aren't working too well. So this one's obviously the pressure's a bit low. There's one here that's a bit intermittent, and I think there's one right here that just doesn't actually work at all. And it's just little things like that I feel like adds a little something to it if you ever notice it. And obviously we had the piping there running to it as well from underneath. This little area here that I did with MaskedBandit's photo booth and the thingy, I'm not sure about this really. The original plan was to sort of go to the right of the Dodgems here, have all this as like an old western sort of area, but I'm not too sure whether that's going to work well with this area. So these may well end up getting moved, and we'll just carry the Googie style a little bit further down here and then have this as a slightly more wooded area breaking through from the back of the coaster. Not too sure. Any suggestions about this area? That'd be really good. We can't really fit any rides there or anything, so it'll just be buildings. I know that a few things that people mention quite a bit. Go-karts that I feel like we're going to put over here and have as part of the Americana area. Go-karts over here, and that'll probably finish off the area. The other thing a lot of people ask for is like a stage as well, or like a performance area. That is going to be over here in a kiddie area. We're going to have a stage show where some of the costume characters will get up and do some dances and things like that. So I know those are the two most requested things. They are coming, but I need something just to kind of cap this area off here. Right, I'll leave you with a few glamour shots. Thank you so much for watching. Again, apologise it's a little shorter this week. We didn't get as much done. Hopefully I'll be able to sit down next week and have a real good go at finishing off this area. We'll see how we get on. Thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed it, please give us a like. It really does help out the channel. And if you're not already, don't forget to subscribe. Any thoughts, queries or suggestions, you can pop those down in the comments. And if you fancy a chat, you can find me on Twitter. I'm at John T. Sparrow. If you'd like to join in with the Geekism community, you can do so over on our Geekism Discord server. You'll find the link in the description. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you in the next one.